What's up, everyone? How's everyone's Tuesday going? Mine's going well. Mine's going extremely well because my New York Knicks. Actually, just kidding. I'm really excited about the fact that the Giants just picked up a sixth-round pick for Darren Waller, who's coming out of retirement. That is really exciting. That's the only reason I'm happy today. I'll be doing a podcast with one giant step with Sean Morash after this. So shameless plug, but let's get into the real reason why I'm currently live streaming. And that's that the Knicks have made two big moves. And I say big moves, not referring to the salary cap, not referring to how much, money these guys are going to be making, but two moves that drastically change the amount of depth that the Knicks have. Even compared to last year, the Knicks had zero depth. And it's, begs the question of how the hell these guys are going to be used. I'm shocked the fact that the Knicks got anyone to sign, considering the fact they don't even have a head coach. How that's another story for another day. That was some of my that's my biggest concern. That was my biggest concern going into free agency. The Knicks still didn't have a head coach. It's been almost a month since they fired Tom Thibodeau. And I was like, hey, this could be a little bit of a concern. Turns out it wasn't. The Knicks got two of their top options, a guy in Jordan Clarkson that they've been interested in for years. This is not a first-time thing. They've been trying to trade for him with the Jazz. Danny Ainge has been extremely stubborn, as he's known to be. It's been a long time coming, and the Knicks got him for the veterans minimum. So good things come to those who wait. It's a very good thing that the Knicks just got Jordan Clarkson. Say what you want about his limitations defensively. Say what you want about his lack of efficiency. You got to keep in mind the fact the last 4 or 5 years, how long has he been on the Jazz? Since the COVID season, since 2019, 2020, he has been on a bad team. I mean, listen, they were better in the bubble, but the second they lost Donovan Mitchell, they've been a terrible team. He's averaged 20.8 points, 17.1, and 16.2 over his last 3 seasons. The last season, he only averaged 26 minutes per game. So this is a volume score. And again, say what you want about him defensively and say what you want about him shooting, 40% from the field last year, 41% from the field last year. This is exactly who the Knicks needed. They needed a guy off the bench who could come in and shoot the ball. He doesn't have to shoot it well, but he needs to shoot the ball. The Knicks did not have someone like that last year. And I think it's massive now that the Knicks have a secondary shot creator and a secondary playmaker next to Jalen Brunson. He's not an amazing playmaker. He's not going to, dish out 6-7 assists a game, but he's a guy you could trust to maybe get into the paint and generate some open looks for other guys on the Knicks. Jalen Brunson was the one guy on the team who could do that on a consistent basis. OG Anunoby, yes, he was able to break down the defense, get into the paint, finish through contact, and occasionally, perform a nice step back and get open, but he was not reliable in the way that Julius Randle was reliable in doing that and collapsing the defense and finding the open man. The Knicks just got someone in Jordan Clarkson who could do just that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Knicks are my favorite to win the championship and yada, yada, yada. I think it helps a lot. It was one of my biggest needs. The fact that the Knicks had to have someone off the bench who could score in bunches. And again, you could be concerned about his lack of efficiency. Again, shooting 41% from the field, 36% from deep, which is not terrible. It's around league average. But it's someone who I really believe can help take the Knicks to the next level. Like, it's a veterans minimum contract. People complaining about it, get your head out of your asses. If you're complaining about this deal, then you probably live a miserable life. And you should do things that actually make you happy in life. Touch grass, all right? This is a veterans minimum deal. A guy who the Knicks were trying to get for years. They never pulled the trigger because Danny Ainge was asking for multiple picks. And the Knicks knew time and time again that was never worth it. And look what happened. The Knicks just got him for the veterans minimum. And I know that there may have been other teams out there willing to offer more. I saw some, not garbage, but I saw some untrue comments on social media saying that Jordan Clarkson could have gotten $10 to $20 million more. I think that's an absolute joke. I think that there's no truth to that. The Knicks got him, I think, under what he could have made from a bad team. But if I'm Jordan Clarkson and I just got bought out and I'm still going to be making money in the future, I'm signing a veteran's minimum deal with a team that I can actually win a championship with after playing 3 meaningless years on the Utah Jazz. So this is a good thing, and much to the chagrin of Mike Breen. I don't know if you remember that game when the Jazz came to Madison Square Garden. Mike Breen, I've never heard him talk so negatively about anyone in the league, much less a guy like Jordan Clarkson who could score in bunches and someone who has been respected around the league as being one of the – listen, I mean, he started a lot of games in the past couple of years to become a bench option, a six-man who plays a lot of minutes. I don't think with the Knicks he's going to be playing nearly as much as he's played with the Jazz. The 33 minutes per game in 2022, 2023, 30.6 minutes in 23-24, and then a little bit less in 26 minutes in 2024, 2025. Played half the season, 37 games. He hasn't played 80 games since 2018, 2019 when he was with the Cavs. So it's been a long time since he's played the majority of games. I think you take that into account as well when you sign him. But hey, this is a plus sign. You won't find many people who are against it. You will find some miserable people out there that hate this deal, probably hate everything that the Knicks do. But this is good. This is a positive. Who was the guy off the Knicks bench last year who you trusted to come in and actually score? Was it Campaign? The guy who had one good playoff game? Practically lost them game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals when Tom Thibodeau started the fourth quarter with Cameron Payne minutes. He was terrible. I mean, he was fine throughout the year. Probably outplayed his contract, which was also a veteran's minimum, and won the Knicks a playoff game, game 1 of that first round against the Pistons. Hasta la vista. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Thanks for your contributions. Campaign's gone. The Knicks got Jordan Clarkson as a replacement. Again, a secondary creator, a secondary facilitator, and someone you could trust to just launch shots. All right? And I'm very intrigued by this bench unit. And hopefully that my hope for the Knicks starters and their bench and for whomever is the next head coach for the Knicks is that they are going to learn from Tom Thibodeau's biggest mistake in that you cannot start Josh Hart with that lineup. With that lineup, you were trying to accomplish a 5-out scheme. I mean, you don't need me to tell you what this is. It's 5 men on the outside of the perimeter. It's a lot of passing. It's a lot of cutting. It's a lot of movement. But you're looking for 3-point shots for your best 3-point shooters. One of them being Karl-Anthony Towns, who was by far the Knicks' best 3-point shooter last year, shooting 42%. A guy who only took 5 threes a game. Infuriating. It's something that I harped on a million times throughout the season, especially in the playoffs. So the 5-out offense with Josh Hart on the bench is going to do wonders for the Knicks. And then him coming in with the bench unit, with Clarkson, with depending on whomever is starting, I'd like to see the Knicks have interchange their starting lineups, not always have Deuce McBride in the starting lineup, occasionally have Mitchell Robinson, then early on you can put Deuce McBride in. But I'm intrigued by the idea of having Josh Hart off the bench. I've always thought that Josh Hart, is a more impactful player off the bench. The energy that he provides in short spurts can be as impactful as any minutes you'll get besides Jalen Brunson's crunch time minutes. Josh Hart coming in with that extra burst when he's not playing 40-plus minutes a game. I know he's conditioned for it. I don't want anyone to sit here and tell me, Bryce, but Josh Hart, it could play 45. I get that. I've seen him play 48 minutes in a game, even more than 48 minutes in a game. But I don't think there's anyone out there in the human race, any Homo sapien in this world, that if played less, if rested more, could not have more energy. But yeah, there's some marathon runners out there who can complete marathons in crazy times. But if you have them run 1 mile, I guarantee you, if there's no stress of running 25 more miles after that, they're going to have a better time. 100%. Same goes with Josh Hart. Same goes with any player in the NBA. And same goes with any human being. So playing Josh Hart off the bench, the energy burst that he could provide you in that second unit will be second to none. and he will be an even more impactful role player. Again, I think that it's out there a lot that Josh Hart is one of the best role players in the NBA. I think he could be even more impactful with less minutes. So huge signing, very, very positive. I didn't expect the Knicks to get someone on that level of Jordan Clarkson. I had a few other guys on my list. Jordan Clarkson was never one of those guys. It was reported a couple days ago that he was interested in the Knicks, and of course, those reports came to fruition, and the Knicks signed him. Now, let's get into the signing today. Gershon Yabusele. And it's someone that I didn't think the Knicks were going to go out and get. I had a few other names on my list. I'm surprised that the 76ers didn't re-sign him after what he did last year, especially when Joel Embiid got hurt. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he played meaningless minutes. He started 43 games, played 73 games for the 76ers. Obviously, I think, he averaged 27 minutes per game. I think that goes down if Joel Embiid wasn't hurt, if Paul George wasn't hurt, if Tyrese Maxey didn't miss a lot of games at the end of the year. Either way, he played some meaningful minutes. And you could say, oh, Bryce, of course he played some meaningful minutes. They were all garbage time. They were all meaningless minutes in a season in which the 76ers won 24 games and lost 58. Yabusele shot 50% from the field. He shot 38% from deep. He's a stretch four, a guy who can occasionally play the center position. I doubt he's going to be matched with Karl-Anthony Towns a lot. I'd like to see him alongside Mitchell Robinson. If you're going to play him alongside Towns, it allows you some versatility in that lineup because you'll still have a 5-out lineup. He reminds me of an Al Horford off the bench. I know Al Horford, much better paint protector, but someone like those guys on the Celtics who came in, could fire threes. This is a great signing. I talked to a few of my Sixer fan friends. I don't have many of them. Try to distance myself from them, as toxic as any sports fan could be. But I've talked to a few of them. And what they tell me is that Yabusele is a really good player and a fascinating career path. He was drafted by the Celtics in the late first round in 2017, a year in which I remember the Celtics had 1 million first-round picks. Of course, nowhere near as many as the Nets had this year. 5 first-round picks. They used all 5 of them. The Celtics in 2017 had 1 million first-round picks. That was the year that they took. I think that was the Tatum year. I believe that was the Tatum year. I think the year before was Jaylen Brown. So that was the Tatum year. They had a bunch of first-round picks. They take Yabusele at the end of the first round. He plays sparingly over the course of his first 2 seasons. Keep in mind that those Boston teams were really solid at that point, led by Isaiah, led by 2 young players in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He barely plays, averages 7.1 and 6.1 minutes per game throughout his first 2 seasons. He gets sent down to the G League, and instead of, middling around in the G League, busting his ass, trying to get back up to the NBA, he decides he wants to go overseas and play some professional basketball. So he goes to China for a year, plays pretty well, then goes to Europe, ends up being with Real Madrid from 2021 to 2024. And then in the Olympics for France, he goes off. And if you remember, he had that highlight dunk, the poster over LeBron James that's been erased from the internet. Erased from the internet. But yeah, he played extremely well in the Olympics for France. And what happened was the 76ers took note of it. Other teams in the NBA took note of it. And after being out of the NBA for 5 seasons, he signs a deal, 1-year deal, a prove-it deal with the 76ers, comes in, plays 27 minutes per game. He hasn't played a game in the NBA in 5 seasons. He comes in, plays 27 minutes per game on pretty solid efficiency. 50% from the field. 38% from 3. On 4 attempts from 3 per game. He's an extremely solid player. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm 100% sure that last season wasn't a fluke. It's his first season in the NBA, as I keep mentioning, in 5 years. There's no guarantee that he is going to be able to replicate that. But either way, this deal reminds me of the deal that the Knicks gave Isaiah Hartenstein a few years back. The 2-year, $18 million deal. After a solid season with the Clippers, there was no guarantee that this guy would turn into what he became in getting a $29 million contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder and winning a championship and being a big part of a championship team in the NBA. There was no thought that that was his ceiling. The Knicks made that deal. He looked really solid in the minutes that he got with the Clippers, but it wasn't a major sample size. The Knicks went out there and did it. And look how that turned out. The Knicks window is completely different than it was when they signed Isaiah Hartenstein. They had much younger players. The team had just signed Jalen Brunson. There were lower expectations. And, of course, the Knicks had more cap room. But you brought in Isaiah Hartenstein, only signed him to 2 years. You could have signed him for 3, maybe 4. The Knicks, of course, didn't have the foresight to know that he'd become the player that he did. But this is a deal that reminds me a lot of that. Yabusele already proved himself on a prove-it deal with the Sixers. He earns the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is around $6 million. So terrific. There's nothing bad that can come from this. My apology. The whole apron system, I put so much energy into researching and finding out more and more, and it's impossible to understand. It really is. But the Knicks are currently hard capped at the second apron after giving up their taxpayer mid-level exception. It was around I forgot exactly what the number was, $6 million given to Yabusele. That caps them at the second apron. They need to sign a rookie scale deal with James Nagy or the other guy, Diarra, that they drafted this year at the 50th overall pick. So 51st overall pick, they traded. But I think that this is a massive improvement. And I don't think you need me to tell you this. I think even any casual NBA fan could see the benefits behind signing 2 guys that can actually provide you meaningful minutes. And with a coach that's actually willing to play his bench, it could be even more of a positive. And again, I think that Yabusele hasn't scratched the surface with his 3-point shooting. This Knicks team has a lot more spacing than the 76ers had last year. Joel Embiid went down early. Paul George didn't play. I mean, it shouldn't have shocked anyone. He didn't play as much as maybe he was expected to by Daryl Morey on that massive contract, the worst contract in the NBA now. Sucks to suck, Sixers. But the Sixers lost out on a lot of spacing when you lose those 2 guys, and Maxey barely plays any games to end the season. Yabusele still shot 38% from 3 on 4 threes a game. You'd like to think his minutes will go down on a team that's much deeper, on a team that's much more talented. And you'd like to think that maybe, hopefully, his volume from 3 will go up either way. Maybe he plays 20 minutes a game. I'd like to see him take 5 threes a game. I think adding Jordan Clarkson is going to do wonders, not only for the bench unit, but for some starters as well. I really hope deep down that we don't see many minutes consisting of Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Jordan Clarkson, where you have 3 incompetent defenders, not just 1 or 2, with Brunson and Cat, which was an unmitigated disaster, especially with the lack of spacing you got on the offensive end, playing Josh Hart 40 minutes a game. That never made any sense. But I think what you'll see is Brunson and Cat staggered a little bit more. They'll play 20, 25 minutes a game. But in the minutes they don't, you're going to see Clarkson. You're going to see a lot of Jordan Clarkson. nowhere near as much volume and minutes as you saw with the Jazz. And again, you understand why. The Jazz were a rebuilding team. He was chucking up terrible shot after terrible shot. Shot 41% from the field. The last 2 years, he shot 41%. The last time he shot 45% or more was in 2020. Again, the COVID bubble season, in which he shot 36. He shot 46% from the field, 36% from three. This is far from ideal in terms of the level of efficiency we've seen from Jordan Clarkson over the last few years. I think that you will see an improvement in terms of efficiency with the other options on the Knicks. If he plays a lot with Jalen Brunson, if he plays a lot with Karl-Anthony Towns, it will open a bunch of avenues for him to score and to score with more efficiency. Do I think he's going to become a 53, 52% shooter? Absolutely. Do I think he's magically going to become a 40% or better shooter from three? Absolutely not. But do I think that he can increase his field goal percentage to 45, 46%? I think that's a possibility. I don't think that's out of the question. So again, I have high hopes for this team. I do. And you're seeing a lot more. There was a lot of news today. The signing of Miles Turner to the Bucks. I don't think anyone saw that coming after all of the trade talks that Miles Turner has been in over the course of his Pacers career. He was the longest tenured Pacer on that team. You thought at that point this guy is potentially going to finish at least the prime of his career with the Pacers. And the Pacers only offered him, it's been reported, 3 years, $60 million. The Bucks come in, offer him significantly more. He signs with them. Then the Bucks waive Damian Lillard. And now it comes out that Giannis Antetokounmpo is reportedly not happy about that. And I'm not saying the Knicks are going to go out there and trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I think it's something to watch for, something to watch out for. I don't think that, with the Knicks hard cap at the second apron, they can only send out as much as they could take in. It becomes a much more difficult deal to make. I don't think that the Knicks saw this coming. I'm sure that they heard the sentiment coming from Milwaukee, and that, hey, Giannis Antetokounmpo is content with where he is right now. I don't know why, but that was the report. And maybe they had other intel, but they didn't trust what they had to give up, considering the fact that the Bucks might not be in the process of trying to acquire players in return for Giannis Antetokounmpo, that they may be more inclined to try to get picks from teams that actually have picks. The Knicks, of course, don't have any because they traded them all for Mikal Bridges, or at least the ones that they were allowed to trade under the stipend. But now with the signing of Miles Turner, with all the other guys that they've signed, they re-signed Gary Trent Jr., they just got Gary Harris. Seems like they're loading up to build around Giannis Antetokounmpo. But with the current roster makeup that they have, you need another star second option. Like, look at all these teams who have had success. 2 teams that made the finals. SGA and Jalen Williams. The Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam. Even going back even further. The Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. The Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. I don't know how the Bucks expect to be a championship contender. I really don't know if that's possible. And I just don't know what's next for them. I don't know what this means. With Giannis Antetokounmpo being upset about Damian Lillard getting bought out. I think that was the best move the franchise could make. Obviously, they're going to have to eat a significant amount of money. I believe they're going to have to pay Damian Lillard $20 million over the next 5 years. If I'm correct, that's an exorbitant amount of money. But the guy tore his Achilles. He already started to show signs of father time and being less athletic. So you tear your Achilles at that age, being a guard who doesn't already have much explosiveness. I don't think that's a crazy move. Of course, you're going to have to placate Giannis Antetokounmpo, a top 2 player in the NBA, in my opinion. I don't know where the hell they go from here. I think it's very smart, the moves that they made in strengthening the depth they have. But what the hell are they going to do in trying to acquire a secondary playmaker, secondary shot creator and scorer? They don't have that guy. Secondary option. They don't. You are not going to win a championship in this current era of the NBA with one really, really, really great player and a bunch of other solid role players. It's not possible. You need a second option. So we're all obviously going to keep our eye on this Giannis Antetokounmpo situation, but I'm sitting here and telling you it's very unlikely the Knicks trade for him because of how difficult it is right now. And not just that, I don't know if the Bucks are going to want win now players in return. That doesn't help them win a championship. They still need that second option. They still need it. And I just don't know who that guy is going to be. Let's say the Knicks trade Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby. You still don't have a secondary shot creator. You don't even have one. Gary Trent Jr., sure, he can create his own shot. Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't create his own shot. He doesn't score at will in the paint. He became a lot better at it under Tom Thibodeau, driving every time he caught the ball at the top of the key. Instead of Tom Thibodeau actually trying to get him open off pin down screens and off ball screens in the corners. He's not a guy who can create his own shot. So I think that the Bucks are smarter than these moves make them out to be. I think it's a long shot. I'd say it's a 3% to 5% chance the Knicks somehow get Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I don't know what the hell the Bucks are planning on doing. Because they went out and made all these moves to strengthen their depth. But then they released Damian Lillard and piss off Giannis Antetokounmpo either way. And they made all those moves to placate Giannis. And then they make another move that has Giannis pissed. That's a story of having a star that demands a lot from his franchise. A star of that level. A star that brought that city a championship and brings that city millions upon millions upon millions of dollars in revenue each year. Jersey sales, tickets. And they built a new arena in downtown Milwaukee, largely due to what Giannis Antetokounmpo did for that city, did for that organization. So you have to placate him. I don't know if these moves, I don't know what the hell happens now. I don't. I really don't know. I'm just happy that the Knicks did this. They need to sign a rookie minimum contract, James Najee or Diarra. To help round out this roster. I think they have one more vet minimum. So we'll see. There's a lot going on in Knicks world. I'll be sure to talk about more and more of this. Stay tuned for the newest One Giant Step from Sean Morash and myself. Probably coming out later today, if not tomorrow, about the Darren Waller trade, where that came out of nowhere. Giants got a 6th-round pick. Oh, terrific. And also the chatters about Odell Beckham Jr., and then maybe we'll get into the rest of the list that we had in the who we believe are going to be the top 10 Giants at the end of the year. So stay tuned for all that. Stay tuned for more Knicks talk. And I assume that I'll be talking to you all tomorrow, but if not, in the unlikely chance that I'm not, happy 4th of July. Everyone enjoy your weekends, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace out.